This is a Blairing Out with Eric Blair show, and today I'm pleased to have Jessica Vohs and Miranda Zeiger of Willow Willow on the show.
Hi, I'm Jessica.
I'm Miranda.
And we're Willow Willow.
This song is called Sweetest Boy, Loneliest Girl, and it's off our new album, Listening to Music, out November 11th.
You're the sweetest boy in the whole wide world, and I'm the loneliest girl. I was everything I knew I could be. In the light only you held to me. Although I know you'll stay with her so far away. Had I not wandered, you'd be mine today, be mine today. You're the sweetest boy in the whole wide world. I wish I could let you know. You're the sweetest boy in the whole wide world, and I'm the loneliest girl. Do you know I still have dreams of you? Dreams of you. And their every wish of love come true. Love come true. Letters under my bed. Your teenage words reread. Our ceaseless cries of all I never said. I never said. You're the sweetest boy in the whole wide world. I wish I could let you know. You're the sweetest boy in the whole wide world, and I'm the loneliest girl. I'm the loneliest girl. I'm the loneliest girl.
Okay, what was it that drew you to each other in kindergarten?
Jessica came up to me and introduced herself. She said, "Hi, my name's Jessica. What's your name?" We found ourselves on the same softball team, and then we were like at each other's birthday parties, but you know how kids do. Yeah, we just never stopped being friends.
I don't remember introducing myself to her, but I just remember being close ever since kindergarten. Always playing and making up songs and at each other's houses, and her parents are kind of like my parents and vice versa, I guess. Yeah, we've just been close.
What were some of the bonding high points of your youth?
Making shows on the video camera that was this big that my dad borrowed from his place of work at the time, that was huge, because some of the hardest times I've ever laughed have been our ridiculous videos, parodies of TV shows or advertisements on TV or whatever. And then also gymnastics. We were like, thought we want to be in the Olympics.
We were just both sort of different from a lot of the other kids, I think. We were both kind of daydreamers and just had really wild imaginations and liked to play make-believe games. So we just kind of found each other, and we're always off doing our own thing, I would say, together.
Did you guys ever rebel against authority when you were younger?
Yeah. One time I wrote a note to express my anger at my friend's dad, who wouldn't allow her to stay for dinner. And I was outraged that he didn't have a good reason. So I sent him a note that said, "Fuck you."
I just remember in high school just cutting a lot of classes and smoking cigarettes and hanging out at the coffee shop instead of being at school. I think that was the main thing. I just didn't want to be in school. I didn't feel happy there. So my rebellion was just like cutting school.
How did the Cyndi Lauper album, She's So Unusual, change your lives? I guess you guys were 7?
That was the first record I ever got. I got it for my birthday. I have a picture of me holding it. And it's just was, I don't know, I love everything about her. She's amazing. She has one of the greatest voices ever.
I guess that was my first experience with pop music and seeing someone eccentric in that, with that platform. And I mean, the songs are amazing. So and kids know what good music is. They always, they know, I don't know, you're more, have more purity then. So I feel like, and at that time, pop music was more, there's more artistry involved, I think. Anyway, that was when I realized, like, I want to be a rock star.
Which songs off She's So Unusual really, like, touched you?
Probably Time After Time was the one I wanted to listen to over and over.
There was the obvious hits, Girls Just Want to Have Fun, but When You Were Mine, the one written by Prince, I was pretty stoked on that one.
And your mom's favorite song off of that album is She Bop, as I recall.
Yeah. That's the one I remember when my parents' friends brought it over, and that's the one they were all like grooving to. And I was like, hey, this isn't bad.
The cover is so cool. I just love the cover.
So then do you think that money changes everything?
In some ways, yeah. It changes a lot. I mean, as far, like, in the context of relationships, for me personally, not so much, but just like in the world in general, I would say yes.
I think it changes everything. My life would be different depending on the amount of money that I have. And it's you do hang out with people usually that have a similar income to you, and when you don't, it's always, there's tension, it's awkward. On so many levels. Yes, my answer is yes.
Have you seen that happen, though? Have you seen people choose money over love?
Definitely. I mean, in LA, that happens all the time, I would say. I've seen it happen.
So you were the one that learned all the Peter, Paul, and Mary stuff, your parents' albums. So tell me your favorite Peter, Paul, and Mary songs.
Oh, God. I remember really liking I think it's called The Great Mandala. It's like the last track on, I forget which album, but it's a very, it's a super heavy song that I didn't understand really what it was about as a child, which it's like, the circle of life and like death and whatever, The Great Mandala. I really liked that song when I was little. And I don't really think of any, particular favorite songs. I just love their harmonies and everything. Like when I think of that group, I just think of the beautiful 3-part harmonies. I don't think of really one song in particular, but they were very influential to me. There's an innocence to, like an innocence and purity to music then that a lot of music doesn't have anymore. And I think sometimes we tap into the innocence and wonder and purity of the world, I guess.
I know, like your song, My Little Cloud. That is a great song.
Thank you. It's actually one of my favorites. It's more simple. I feel like it's one of the more minimal, but it expresses like exactly what I wanted to express. And I don't know. For whatever reason, it's one of my favorites.
Tell me about not being the cool kids in high school.
Well, I feel like we were cool in our own way. I feel that, I mean, I just feel like we were kind of outsiders, and we kind of hung out with the theater crowd if we were to pick a group, and theater kids aren't usually like the cool kids, but they know how to have fun. And I don't know, I didn't, I was so not interested in school that I think we actually spent more time hanging out with the Berkeley High kids, and that was pretty cool. The Berkeley High kids were way cooler.
What did you learn from the Berkeley High kids?
How to smoke weed. No. How to party. I mean, that's essentially it.
You were like the team. You guys were the team forever.
We were voted best friends in the yearbook, so therefore it is a fact that we were the best friends at Albany High.
Were there lots of pictures of you guys in the yearbook?
There were several that were put in there by us because we were on the yearbook. We were in the yearbook committee. So yes, we put a few pictures of ourselves in the yearbook.
How did your relationship weather the storm of early romance?
Well, we always ended up dating two guys that were best friends.
We had parallel lives when it came to relationships, and I guess we still do.
We still do.
Because we would be like somehow our relationships always seem to start around the same time, give or take a month or so, and then it wasn't intentional in any way. It's just like our lives just always seem to be parallel in certain ways.
At what point did you guys decide to form Willow Willow?
First, before we were Willow Willow, we went through a few different names. Do you remember what it was before Willow Willow?
Our first band name was the Special People Club.
We started, writing songs around that time. And we're playing out a little bit. And then we were like, nah, that name is not. We wanted something that wasn't so like ironic or jokey. So we kept thinking of names, and we settled on Willow Willow just because I guess that was the best one we had come up with. But it's the name of a song that we both at the same time were thinking that'd be a cool name because we were like into that band at the time, and that song is not a well-known song really, but we love that song. And then we were both kind of thinking it, and then we said it to each other. I don't remember who said it first or what, but the fact that we were both thinking of it, it was like, okay, obviously this is it, and it just made sense in so many ways, like because it's a double name and there's two of us, and it just felt right.
Was there a neo-folk scene going on when you guys started playing around Berkeley and San Francisco?
Yes, there was. Or it was like emerging, I think. Like, let's see, Joanna Newsom was playing small venues around Berkeley and San Francisco.
Devendra
Banhart was playing small venues. He was emerging also. And like the Moore brothers and Bart Davenport, like I guess Bart Davenport's wasn't part of that scene so much, but there was like a kind of like a community of people doing folky music for sure in San Francisco.
It was cool for us to kind of find a scene that kind of embraced us because we did tend to be outsiders, and I don't even know quite how it happened. I think there was like this night hosted by a guy named Eric Shea, who is a big scene stir kind of guy, I would say, and he kind of brought us into that world, I guess, and we just like immediately after that we were just playing out everywhere with those same people.
Yeah, Eric Shea hosted something called the Monday Night Hoot.
Oh, yeah.
And it was at Café du Nord in San Francisco. I think they just sold it, maybe. I don't know what's happening with it right now. But it was like a real big deal, the Monday Night Hoot. And that's where just lots of musicians would go play like 2 or 3 songs, and everyone would get to know each other. And it was really cool. It was so much fun. I miss those days.
How does the songwriting process come together for you guys?
Yeah, usually I'll bring a song to her. She'll be like, she kind of is good at like coaxing things out of me because I'm so like shy about everything, and so yeah, it's always been that she's like, okay, play me your new song, because and then I play the song, and then either I can always tell. Usually I won't play a song unless I know there's something to it, but then she will confirm one way or the other, and she'll be like, I love it. It's the best song you ever wrote. She always does that. And then we just, you when you're inspired, you don't have to force it, and so when the magic is there or not, and she'll just she'll make up a like killer harmony part. We work quickly. She's like crazy fast.
We have hand signals that we use.
We have hand signals
when we're rehearsing.
We have eye signals. Like we'll work together. She brings the harmony part, and then and that does kind of become like a second melody at times. So it's a big part of the final layer of the songwriting process.
Okay, so how instrumental was Bart Davenport to securing a record deal with indie label Maud Lang Records?
I would say it was quite instrumental because I think he's the one who told them that we existed. It's a couple, it was at the time, that owns the store and label. He talked us up, I think, maybe. Is that what happened? And then we went in there one day with our demo CD and asked if they would sell it, and they were like, oh, I had already heard of us, and we were like,
we couldn't believe it. We were, this is so exciting. I think we played it cool, and then we sold them like 5 or 10 CDs, and then we went outside and we were like, yay, jumping around. And then Bart was having an album release show. He was going to play a show just at the record store, and so they asked us if we would open for Bart.
What was your relationship like with Bart?
He's just a great guy, and he's been kind of like a older brother that sort of like looks out for us. He plays with us when we need someone to play with us. He always has really good advice, and he just looks out for us. He kind of took us under his wing, I'd say. He champions us.
How did LA embrace Willow Willow when you guys first came out here in 2009?
It did not. Well, we didn't really try. Like, we got down here, coming down here was, the reason was for music and to just sort of try something new. We'd been in San Francisco our whole lives. But we just kind of got caught up in adjusting to the new city and working that everything got kind of put on the back burner. The band stuff got put on the back burner. But then as soon as we try to get out there, I feel like we've been well received.
Yeah, it's just such an overwhelming city, and I mean, we were starting from nothing, and the friends or acquaintances that we kind of were expecting to collaborate with or that was gonna like help get us adjusted, it just all fell through, like everything. So we just started from scratch, and now a bunch of our friends have since moved here, such as Bart, and then we discovered other Bay Area connections, and yeah, met a lot of people since, but it took a good over a year to even feel like there was any sense of community happening.
Because in San Francisco, it's such a small city, and everyone knows each other. You're going to the same bars and clubs different nights of the week where you run into the same people, and it really was. There was a really strong sense of community there, and so here we didn't know anybody, and we were just kind of like found ourselves here. We didn't know where anything was. we just had a hard time adjusting.
How did the birth of your new album, Willow Willow, listening to music, come together?
All the songs, most of them were written in LA after I had joined a songwriting workshop, and that just spurred me into a really awesome phase of songwriting where I was writing really regularly and had a bunch of songs, and a few of them were ones we'd really wanted to record that we'd already had worked out for a while. We had more than an album's worth of songs, and then it was just kind of actually spur of the moment. Jessica was like, let's record an album, and maybe Luke can produce it. I think it was just that simple because, we'd heard something he'd done, or you had. And then, so we just emailed him and said, hey, would you want to produce this? And we offered this insulting amount of money because we didn't have any. And then he was like, well, maybe for a little more. Yeah. let's do it. He just happened to be in town because he was always touring with his band, Fool's Gold. So he just happened to be in town for this chunk of time, happened to have access to the studio, working with this engineer, Michael Harris, and they were like kind of a team at that time at White Iris Studios in the Bedrock Building. And anyway, it just came together fast, easily, and we got along really well, and we just made it happen.
Since you went to the songwriting workshop, do you feel that this album was more mature than your first one?
It's natural that, that you evolve as an artist and a person over the years. So, the songwriting workshop made me just write more regularly. Like, it made me realize that I could be a prolific songwriter. I didn't know that before that happened. In a short amount of time, I just wrote way more than in my whole life.
What was the key to unlocking that?
Having the accountability of the weekly workshop, and then also having somebody giving me permission to, and a reason, a deadline.
Jessica, tell me about your input in the songs.
The songs will be completed when she comes to me with them, and I think she'll usually have an idea of what she wants the harmony to be, and before I hear that, I will come up with my own, and then we just sort of change anything, or add stuff. Because we don't play with a band until maybe we have a show, we're trying to fill out like stuff that maybe lead instruments would do, and so I feel like she makes it into such a full sound with just two voices. I mean, she wrote one of the songs that's on the album. And
Hummingbird.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then she's written other stuff too.
Thank you.
I think that the spirit of this record is, even though there are songs on there that deal with relationships that are not really working out, I think the overall spirit of the whole album is really positive. And I think that comes through when you listen to it.
That makes me very happy to hear. That's what I think music is for.
So what inspired the lyrics to the songs? And we'll start off with My Little Cloud.
Depression is the short answer. Since I was little, always kind of, you feel this presence of something off, something dark, a little cloud, I kind of just, woke up one day feeling that the presence of that little cloud, which I'm so familiar with. And I just described it to the best of my ability.
Listening to Music, which is the title of your new album.
Well, you wrote this song, but I would say listening to music is about listening to music. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I would say, does this have anything to do with when you used to take the bus to work on a Friday night and you would be feeling kind of left out of the world and you would be listening to music? Is that?
Yeah, that's part of it. Okay. I wrote a verse dedicated to that. You are correct. It was actually it first popped into my head when I was driving. I was not taking a bus, I was driving. Because that's when so many ideas come. I'm sure all the other songwriters would agree when you're driving, showering, washing dishes. Anyway, just realizing that it can just kind of make or break a mood, what you're listening to. And even though it's the simplest thing, you forget that you could put on a song and let the song take you somewhere better.
Songs mark time in our lives. Okay, so if an event happens, can you ever listen to that song again? Can you ever listen to that song again? Or does it always remind you of the negative thing and you just kind of want to wipe that music out of your life?
I've definitely had times in my life where I couldn't listen to a certain band, after a breakup or something. But now I can listen to everything, and I don't. I'm not currently having that issue, but I have in the past. Yes.
What about you, Miranda?
There are certain songs that I know if I play it, I'm asking to be very sad. I'm sensitive to that for sure. But I would never want some relationship or experience to deprive me of a beloved song. I would like to think that eventually I can have a neutral feeling once again. But I don't know if that's possible. Once it's made that stamp in your mind, I don't think you can ever fully recover from that.
Tell me about what inspired the lyrics for the song Crash off your new album, Listening to Music.
Well, Eric, that was inspired initially by a reoccurring dream that I still have about visiting my childhood home. But then it kind of turned into like a sugar high or drug high or whatever, crash. But if you listen to it, I'm using like sweets as the metaphor for the high. You know, it turned into a relationship song as most do. For me, it was waking up from that dream where you finally, you know, reach that place that you always want to be. And then you wake up and it's devastating all over again.
Okay, I Will Never Tire of You.
That's a love song.
I was just telling Jessica this actually, because I had never told her before. I was listening to that song by Edward Sharpe and the Magnetic Zeros, Home, and this is when it first came out. And I was like, it made me cry the first few times I listened to it, because it's just such a pure love song. So right after hearing that, one day I was like, I want to write a love song. And then I just sat down and wrote that about my boyfriend at the time.
The Cruelest Kind.
That's about like breaking up with someone and then they're all like out having fun.
And you're like, this isn't fair.
It's just not fair.
Fuck you. Because they're moving on, and why should they get to do that when they have just made you miserable?
Do you believe romance is dead?
I'm beginning to wonder.
We were just talking about that actually.
I ultimately, I don't think romance can ever die. It may be obscured from many.
I think it's dying. I don't know if it's dead, but I think it's dying in this day and age with like the technology, and I think we were lucky to have, you know, been growing up in the last days of pre-texting. I think that's like a big thing. It's just, that is not romantic.
Yeah.
I like an old-fashioned phone call.
A letter, or even a note.
Okay, so what are your hopes and dreams for the future of Willow Willow? I'm going to start off with you, Jessica.
Put out another album, I guess, at some point, and I would really like to do a tour.
Ultimately, some tours. I totally want to record another album as soon as possible. That's really all I want, is just to be able to support myself just with music. That's my dream.
What kind of industry feedback are you getting?
We've had a few reviews just very recently, and they've all been wonderful. So the feedback has been great. The worst review we got was an A-, and we were annoyed about that.
Like, minus?
But yeah, we got featured on Refinery 29 as one of the
top 16 albums by female artists you have to hear
before
before
2015.
2015.
What advice would you give to young girls that are getting into the music business?
Take yourself seriously as an artist, and to something that happens that I hear a lot is like people are like, oh, she's a great guitar player, or like for a chick, you know, like for a chick or whatever, and to just not even take that into consideration. Like, I would just want young girls to take themselves as seriously as a lot of guys tend to take themselves seriously in the music industry.
Just no matter what happens, don't be intimidated, and do not compare yourself to anyone else, and be true to yourself.
So how important is fame to you, and could you live without it?
I can definitely live without fame.
Yeah, I don't really care about that.
What are your makeup must-haves, and name them?
Liquid Stila eyeliner and blush and mascara.
All by Stila.
Preferably, yes.
Is that what's in your bag?
Yeah. No, I have a Stila, now I'm going to trail off. Like, I have a Stila lip gloss, and I have this really nice rosemary under eye treatment that I forget the name of.
Foundation.
BB cream.
What powder do you use to powder your foundation with?
Benefit.
Black eyeliner you're wearing?
Stila.
What do you use to fill in your eyebrows?
Anastasia.
Killer. Okay, and then what about you, Miranda?
I also like the Stila products because they are cruelty-free. And I have to have the liquid eyeliner. And I'm really into sparkles, so I have this Stila sparkly stuff that I wear almost every day because I cannot get enough glitter. And so those two things.
Foundation?
Don't usually wear it. I'm wearing the same thing she's wearing in a different shade. I don't remember what it's called.
What powder do you use?
It's NARS pressed powder.
What do you wear on your lips?
I'm wearing this MAC color that I've had for a really long time.
Describe your fashion style.
Yes, well, this is one of my favorite necklaces. This is made by my friend Nico. She has a jewelry company called 1228. So yeah, my style, I guess, would be kind of a little witchy.
I would say mine's kind of 60s influenced, minimal, kind of casual.
Are you guys spiritual people? And if so, how would you define that spirituality? And I'll start off with you, Jessica.
I was raised Catholic, but my spirituality is pretty much nature, I would say. I'm really into meditation and prayer and angels and like the higher realm.
It's very much like what she said. Yeah, I just believe in the unseen and that we're all connected, and at our utmost, we are just, pure love and light, and basically strive to shed all the layers around the ego and ultimately moving towards enlightenment.
What brings you the most peace in your life right now?
Being in nature, I just went on this really awesome road trip by myself out to Kansas City. I drove and I stopped in Sedona. And so yeah, like nature and just like simple pleasures. I've been enjoying like this routine I've been having in the morning, which is like getting up, meditating, going to like a really early hot yoga class, stopping by my favorite coffee shop, and just kind of like enjoying everything.
Working on some kind of writing or creative artistic thing where I lose myself in that. Because that's the only time when time stands still and when I lose myself. That is the ultimate peace for me.
How would you define the word love?
Acceptance and caring.
Ultimately, I would define love as truth and acceptance and fear, the opposite of fear.
The Blairing Out Show.
Hi, I'm Jessica. I'm Miranda.
And we're Willow Willow.
This song is called Listening to Music off our new album, Listening to Music, out November 11th.
Oh, it's another day and I'm feeling that old way. I got a creeping doubt and I wanna tune it out. I could be listening, I should be listening, listening to music, listening to music, healing my pain, 'cause it goes right in and changes my brain. I'm heading across town on a bus that's trying to slow me down. Oh, but I just don't care if I ever even get there, because I'm listening. Oh yeah, I'm listening, listening to music, listening to music, healing my pain, 'cause it goes right in and changes my brain. When I wake to ride. Don't need any rules, just need a guide. Healing my pain, 'cause it goes right in and changes my brain. Listening to music, listening to music, listening to music, listening to music.
The Blaring Out Show.